Captain Jake Morrison stared at the display screen, watching the red lights flash across the bridge of the UES horizon. The patrol had been quiet for weeks, too quiet. Out here at the farthest reach of human space, there was usually nothing but empty stars and cold silence. But tonight was different. "Captain," said Lieutenant Amy Chen, her voice tight with worry, "I'm picking up something strange. Multiple vessels about 2 million kilometers away. They're broadcasting distress signals." Morrison walked over to her station. Chen's face was pale, her hands moving quickly over the controls. On the main screen, clusters of weak signals blinked in and out. They were faint, like candle flames dying in the wind. "What kind of vessels?" Morrison asked. "Unknown design," Chen replied. "I've never seen hulls like these. The signals are fragmented, but it sounds urgent. Life support systems are failing." Commander Lisa Brooks, his second-in-command, stepped closer. She had served with Morrison for 5 years, and he trusted her instincts more than anyone else. She crossed her arms, studying the display. "Could be a trap, Captain," Brooks warned. "Pirates have been known to fake distress calls, lure in ships, disable them, strip them for parts. Out here, there's no one to come running." Morrison nodded. Pirates were real. He had seen the aftermath before, burned-out hulls drifting in silence, crews slaughtered or sold. But something about these signals was different. "Put the transmissions on speaker," he ordered. The bridge filled with noise. Strange voices crackled through the comm system. It wasn't any human language, but even without translation, Morrison recognized the sound of desperation. It was raw, panicked. The kind of fear he'd heard before in war, in the cries of men pinned under fire, in the dying whispers of soldiers on the battlefield. "These aren't pirates," Morrison said quietly. Chen worked quickly at her console, pulling data from the flickering signals. 17 vessels detected, sir. Some barely registering on sensors. They're drifting, no organized movement. Power readings are collapsing across the board. 17, Brooks muttered. "That's a fleet, not a single transport. Whoever they are, they're falling apart." Dr. Kevin Phillips, the Horizon's science officer, looked up from his station. "Captain, I'm detecting low-level radiation from the vessels. Their shielding is failing. At this rate, those ships will be uninhabitable in hours, maybe less." Morrison felt a chill run down his spine. Space was unforgiving. A ship without radiation shielding was nothing more than a coffin. "Set course," he ordered. "Full speed toward those ships." The young navigation officer, Ensign Robert Hayes, turned in his seat. Fresh out of the academy, his face still carried the nervousness of youth. "Sir, shouldn't we call for backup first? Earth Command should authorize before." "No time," Morrison cut him off. "If their life support fails, they won't last long enough for Command to make a decision. Plot the course." The horizon turned, engines flaring as it cut through the void. As they closed the distance, the view screen revealed the vessels in sharper detail. Morrison's breath caught. The ships looked like glass, no crystal. Their hulls shimmered faintly, cracked and broken in places, glowing faintly with an inner light. They were the most beautiful ships he had ever seen and the most fragile. Some were dark, their lights extinguished entirely. Others flickered weakly, as if life inside them was fading away. Chen's voice broke the silence. "Confirming life forms aboard, definitely not human, but alive." "Can you translate their language?" Morrison asked. "Working on it, sir." Her hands flew over the controls. "The computer is mapping patterns. Give me a moment." Minutes dragged like hours. The bridge was silent except for the low hum of machines. Then Chen looked up. "Captain, I think I've got something. It's rough, but listen." The alien voices came again, filtered now through the translation program. The words were fragmented, broken, but clear enough. "Help dying, nowhere to go." Brooks exchanged a look with Morrison. "They're refugees," she said. Before Morrison could reply, Dr. Phillips spoke again. "Captain, their biosigns are unusual. Their bodies contain organisms living inside them. Symbiotic, maybe. The system labels them as contaminated." Morrison frowned. "Contaminated." Chen suddenly stiffened. "Incoming direct transmission from the lead ship, Captain." "Put it through." The bridge speakers crackled. Then a voice, soft, desperate, spoke in broken translation. "Human ship, we are grateful. We are the Zapirian people. We are cast out, rejected. We seek only passage to the empty void, where we may die with honor." The words hung heavy in the air. Morrison leaned forward, Cast out by whom? The Galactic Council, the voice replied after a long pause. They have declared us unfit for civilized space, our bodies impure, our symbionts forbidden. We were given time to leave all settled systems. Now we go to die. Brooke stepped closer to Morrison, lowering her voice. Captain, the Council controls half the galaxy if we interfere. I know, Morrison said softly. The smart thing would be to turn away. Offer supplies, perhaps. Let the Council handle its own laws. Earth was still new to galactic politics, still fragile, still untested. But Morrison looked at the screen, at 17 dying ships, at families clinging to life. Zapirian vessel, he said. How many souls remain aboard your fleet? The reply came slow. 12,000, 3,000 young, 3,000 children. The bridge went silent. Morrison's chest tightened. He thought of Earth's own history, of the long, bloody centuries when people had been exiled for faith, for color, for differences they could not change. He thought of children thrown away because they were born wrong in the eyes of the powerful. His decision formed before he even realized it. Zapirian fleet, Morrison said firmly. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earthship Horizon. I'm offering you sanctuary. You are welcome to come with us to human space. Every eye on the bridge turned to him. Chen's mouth opened in shock. Brooks stared hard, her jaw tight. Captain, Brooks said quietly, that's 12,000 refugees without authorization, Earth command. No time, Morrison interrupted. Look at their power readings. Half their fleet won't survive another day. If we wait, children will die. On the comm line, the alien voice trembled. Human captain, you would risk the Council's wrath for outcasts with no home. Morrison looked at the screen. The crystal ships glowed faintly, cracks running like scars across their hulls. He saw beauty there, fragility, desperation. That's what we do, he said. We don't turn away people in need, not if we can help. There was silence. Then the alien voice returned, thick with emotion even through the machine translation. Captain Morrison of Earth, we accept. We place our lives in your hands. Brooks leaned close, whispering urgently. Sir, do you realize what you've just done? You've invited 12,000 aliens into human territory. The Council will consider this defiance. Morrison didn't look away from the view screen. Then let the Council be angry. They should have thought about that before exiling children to die in the void. Captain, Chen said softly, what should I tell Earth Command? Morrison's eyes were hard. Tell them the truth. We found people in need and we helped them. Let the politicians figure out the rest. The Horizon began to maneuver, taking point before the fleet of dying crystal vessels. Slowly, one by one, the Zapirian ships lit up, dimly at first, then brighter, as if hope itself gave them strength. Morrison exhaled, steadying himself. He had no idea what storms this decision would unleash across the galaxy. But he knew it was the right thing to do. As the Horizon guided the refugees toward human space, alarms suddenly blared across the bridge. Chen's console flared red. Captain, she cried, multiple ships just dropped out of hyperspace right on top of us. The screen lit up with shapes, sleek armored vessels, heavily armed, their signatures unmistakable. Brooks' face went pale. Council warships. Morrison clenched his fists. The Council had already come. The alarm screamed across the bridge of the UES Horizon. Contact confirmed, Lieutenant Chen shouted, her fingers flying across the console. 6 vessels, Council design, weapons systems active. On the main screen, the sleek, angular silhouettes of the Council ships filled the void. They were dark gray, sharp-edged, built for intimidation. Energy cannons glowed along their flanks like rows of hungry eyes. They're hailing us, Chen said. Her voice was tight, uncertain. On screen, Morrison ordered. The image flickered, replaced by the cold, angular face of an alien commander. The being had pale skin like polished stone and eyes burning with golden fire. His expression was one of disdain, as if speaking to Morrison was beneath him. This is Commander Zethak of the Council Enforcement Fleet, the alien said. His voice came through the translator like steel dragged across stone. Human vessel, you will cease your actions immediately. Surrender the contaminated species into our custody. Morrison kept his voice calm. These people are dying. They requested sanctuary. I will not hand them over to anyone who intends to. Silence, Zethak snapped. His eyes narrowed. You do not understand the danger. The Zapirians are an infection upon the galaxy. Their symbiotic parasites corrupt the purity of all living things. The Council has decreed their removal. You have no authority to interfere. Funny, Morrison said coldly. I didn't realize compassion required authorization. Brooks stepped closer, whispering urgently. Captain, we can't take them in a fight. 6 Council warships, we'd be torn apart. Morrison's jaw clenched. He knew she was right. The Horizon was a patrol ship, lightly armed, built for scouting, not battle. One volley from the Council's fleet could tear them to pieces. Zethak leaned forward, golden eyes burning brighter. You will turn them over, now, or your fragile species will learn what it means to defy the Council. Morrison exhaled slowly. He could feel his crew's eyes on him, Brooks, Chen, Hayes, Phillips. They were waiting for him to bend, to choose survival, to give up the aliens and live to fight another day. But Morrison remembered the voice of the Zapirian leader. 12,000 souls, 3,000 children, cast out to die for something they could not control. His mind returned to Earth's history, the camps, the exiles, the times when humanity had looked away while the powerful crushed the weak. He wouldn't repeat that mistake, not today. Commander Zethak, Morrison said evenly, these people asked for help, I intend to give it. The bridge went still. Zethak's expression darkened. Then you have chosen rebellion. Humanity's place in the galaxy is fragile. You risk war with powers you cannot comprehend. Maybe, Morrison said, but I know this. If protecting children means war, then so be it. The alien commander's image vanished. Captain, Chen whispered, they've locked weapons on us. Morrison turned to Brooks. Battle stations, raise shields. Aye, Captain. The bridge shifted into motion. Lights dimmed, alarms echoed through the corridors, and the hum of the Horizon's defensive systems filled the air. On the screen, the Council warships moved like predators circling prey. We can't win this fight, Brooks said again, her voice low. Not alone. I know, Morrison said, but maybe we don't need to. Dr. Phillips looked up from his console, startled. What do you mean? Patch me through to the Zapirian fleet, Morrison ordered. Chen hesitated, then nodded. Channel open. Morrison stood tall, his voice carried steady and strong. Zapirian vessels, this is Captain Morrison. We are outmatched. The Council wants you returned to die. I won't surrender you. But if we are to survive, we must stand together. Silence followed. The Zapirian ships drifted quietly, their crystal hulls glowing faintly in the void. Then the voice of Elder Thys, the Zapirian leader, came across the comms. Human Captain, our vessels are broken, our weapons powerless, we have nothing to give. You have everything to give, Morrison said firmly. You have lives, families, hope. If we can hold the Council long enough, we can escape together. But I need your help. Another silence, then faintly Elder Thys replied, we will try. Captain, Chen shouted suddenly, Council ships charging weapons. On the screen, the alien warships flared with deadly light. Evasive maneuvers, Morrison ordered. The Horizon jolted violently as beams of energy sliced past, glowing arcs tearing across the void. Shields flared under the strain, groaning like metal under a hammer. We can't take many more hits, Brooks shouted. Morrison gritted his teeth. Return fire, target weapons arrays, just enough to buy time. The Horizon's guns spat bursts of plasma. They struck one Council ship's flank, flaring harmlessly against its armor. It wasn't much, but it was defiance. Then something unexpected happened. One of the Zapirian vessels flared with sudden brilliance. Its cracked crystal hull glowed like a star. A beam of pure light lanced out, striking a Council ship. Chen gasped. What the Captain, they had weapons hidden, crystal energy emitters old but still functional. On the screen, another Zapirian ship fired, its light scattering across the void like shattered diamonds. Council shields flared. For the first time, the enemy staggered. Elder Thys's voice returned, stronger now, fierce. Human Captain, we will not go quietly. The bridge filled with shouts as battle erupted. Council ships unleashed barrages of fire. The Horizon darted between beams, shields straining. The Zapirian fleet, though weak and broken, began to fight back. Their crystal weapons cut the darkness with dazzling arcs of color. Captain, one Council ship disabled, Chen cried. Good, Morrison growled. Show them we're not prey. But even as hope flickered, reality pressed hard. The Zapirian fleet was weak. Their weapons, though beautiful, were inconsistent. For every council hit they landed, 2 Zapirian ships were struck in return. Hulls cracked. Lights dimmed. "We're losing them," Brooks warned. Morrison's mind raced. They couldn't outfight the council, but maybe they didn't need to. "Chen," he barked. "Scan for nearby systems, anything asteroid belts, nebulae, gas clouds." "Scanning," she said, her hands flying, then her eyes widened. "Captain, I've got something. A pulsar system 2 million kilometers out. Strong radiation, unstable magnetic fields, dangerous, but it could mask our escape." "Perfect," Morrison said. "Plot a course, signal the Zapirian fleet to follow." Captain Brooks said urgently, "That's suicide. The radiation could tear us apart." "Better torn apart by nature than executed by tyrants," Morrison said. The ship shook violently as another council volley slammed into the shields. Warning klaxons blared. "We won't survive much longer anyway," Morrison said. Brooks held his gaze for a long moment, then nodded. "Aye, Captain." "Corset," Hayes shouted. Morrison clenched his fists. "All ships follow us into the storm." The horizon turned sharply, engines blazing. Behind them, the broken Zapirian fleet staggered, then followed. Council ships moved to pursue, their cannons hungry for blood. As the pulsar's light grew in the distance, Morrison felt the weight of every life depending on his decision. 12,000 souls, his crew, humanity's reputation. "Captain," Chen whispered, "if we go in there, there's no turning back." Morrison's eyes never left the glowing star ahead. "We don't turn back, not today." The bridge filled with the roaring hum of the pulsar's deadly waves. The screen flared white as radiation storms danced across the void like fire made of light. Behind them, the council warships closed in, relentless. "Shields at 40%, Brooks shouted. "Engage the storm," Morrison ordered. The horizon plunged into the pulsar's radiation field. The ship trembled violently, alarms blaring. On the screen, arcs of magnetic lightning tore across space, ripping at shields, distorting sensors. "Radiation spiking," Phillips cried. "If shields fail, we're finished." Morrison gripped the armrest. "Hold together just a little longer." Outside, the Zapirian ships followed, their crystal hulls glowing brilliantly in the storm. Some flickered dangerously on the edge of collapse. Others blazed brighter than ever before, as if feeding on the star's fury. The council ships pursued, but the storm struck them too. One was ripped apart by magnetic lightning, its hull shearing like paper. Another lost shields, tumbling into fire before exploding. Chen's eyes lit with hope. "It's working, the storm's tearing them apart." But then her face fell. "Captain, 3 Zapirian ships lost, too weak to withstand the radiation." Morrison's stomach turned, innocents dying on his decision. But there was no choice. If they stopped, they all died. Ahead, a narrow corridor of relative calm appeared, a gap in the storm's chaos. "Course locked," Hayes shouted. "Take us through," Morrison ordered. The horizon surged forward, the Zapirian fleet trailing close. Behind them, the surviving council ships hesitated. The storm raged too fiercely. They broke off pursuit. Chen let out a breath. We made it." But Morrison didn't relax, not yet. On the screen, the Zapirian fleet emerged from the storm, damaged, battered, but alive. Their crystal hulls shimmered faintly, cracked but unbroken. Elder Thess's voice filled the bridge. "Human captain, you have given us hope where none remained, but the council will not forget this. They will return in greater numbers." Morrison nodded grimly. "Then we'll be ready." But even as he spoke, a new alarm blared. "Captain," Chen cried, "unknown energy surge dead ahead." On the screen, the void rippled. Space itself twisted, bending like water around a stone. Something was coming. The bridge of the horizon glowed with the pulsing red of warning lights. The crew stared in silence at the screen, where the stars seemed to twist and ripple like heat rising off asphalt. "Report," Morrison barked. Chen's fingers raced over the controls, her brow furrowed. I don't know what I'm seeing, Captain. It's like a rift, energy distortions across multiple spectra, gravity fluctuations off the charts." Dr. Phillips adjusted his glasses, staring at the data pouring across his console. "It's a tear, Captain, in space itself. Something powerful is distorting the fabric of reality right in front of us. The view screen shuddered. The ripple widened, glowing faintly with shifting colors, green, violet, silver. It looked alive, like a wound in the universe that refused to close. "Is it stable?" Brooks asked, her voice low. "Stable?" Phillips shook his head. "No, but it's not random either. There's a pattern to it, almost like it's holding itself open." Morrison felt a weight settle in his gut. The galaxy was full of wonders and horrors, but this felt different. "Can we go around it?" Morrison asked. Chen bit her lip. "Not without losing half the Zapirian fleet. Their engines are too weak to maneuver fast enough, and the Council ships might still be waiting outside the pulsar field. If we retreat now, we run right into them." Morrison's fists tightened. Trapped. One way led back to the Council's guns. The other led into a tier in space that looked like death itself. Then Elder this S's voice came through the comms, soft but steady. "Human Captain, the rift, it calls to us." Everyone on the bridge turned to stare at the speakers. "What do you mean?" Morrison asked. "In our histories," Elder this S continued, "there are stories of gateways, places where the crystal song bends. Our ancestors spoke of them as doors the stars themselves opened. No Zapirian has ever seen one until now." Brooks muttered under her breath, "Great, we've flown into an alien fairy tale." But Morrison heard something else in the Zapirian's voice. Not just awe, recognition. "Elder," Morrison said carefully, "are you saying your people might know what this is?" "We do not know," this S admitted. "But we believe. The Council feared us because of the symbionts we carry. They never understood them. But sometimes the symbionts whisper, and now they whisper of the rift." The bridge went quiet. Phillips cleared his throat. "Captain, if what the Elder says is true, their biology might have a connection to this phenomenon. Their symbionts could be sensitive to whatever causing it. Or it could kill us all," Brooks said flatly. Morrison weighed the options. Retreat meant death. Standing still meant death. The rift, at least it was a chance. "Captain," Chen said suddenly, "incoming message, not from the Council, from the rift." Everyone froze. "That's impossible," Phillips said. "There's nothing alive in." "Listen," Chen whispered. The bridge filled with sound. A voice, no, not a voice exactly. A rhythm, a vibration. It wasn't language, but it pulsed like a heartbeat. Slow, steady, deep. And then, faint words emerged, twisted through the translation software. "Come, sanctuary, come." Morrison felt the hairs rise on the back of his neck. The rift was calling them. Brooks leaned close. "Sir, this could be a trap, a lure. We don't know what's on the other side." Morrison stared at the glowing wound in space. His instincts screamed caution, but another part of him, the part that had chosen to save the Zapirians, felt something else. A pull. "Course?" he asked quietly. Chen hesitated, then swallowed hard. "Dead center, Captain. If we go through, the Zapirians can follow. It's the only path." Morrison closed his eyes for a moment. He thought of the 12,000 souls depending on him. He thought of Earth, fragile in the galaxy's politics. He thought of the Council, waiting with their chains. When he opened his eyes, his voice was firm. "Signal the Zapirian fleet. Tell them to hold formation. We're going through." The bridge fell silent. No one argued this time. The crew trusted him, even if they didn't fully understand why. The horizon edged closer to the rift. Its shimmering colors grew brighter, twisting and folding like liquid glass. The vibration filled the hull, a low hum that thrummed in their bones. "Radiation levels spiking," Phillips warned. "Shields holding barely." "Stay the course," Morrison said. Behind them, the Zapirian fleet followed, glowing crystal ships limping forward like a herd of wounded animals. The rift loomed larger, swallowing the stars. "Brace for turbulence," Hayes shouted. The horizon plunged into the rift. Light swallowed everything. The ship groaned violently. The crew clung to their stations as gravity twisted, pulling in every direction at once. Colors exploded across the screen, impossible shapes, spirals within spirals, geometry that bent the mind. Chen cried out, "We're being pulled hard." "Hold her steady," Morrison barked. The horizon shook as if gripped by an invisible hand. For a moment, Morrison thought they would be torn apart. But then, suddenly, it was over. The shaking stopped, the light faded, and the screen cleared. Gasps filled the bridge. Before them stretched a star system, hidden untouched, concealed inside a pocket of folded space. A golden star shone at its heart, surrounded by 3 lush planets and a belt of glittering asteroids. It was beautiful, untouched, a sanctuary. "Oh my God," Brooks whispered. "It's a whole system hidden from the galaxy." Phillips's voice shook. This is impossible. A stable pocket dimension, a secret star system. Captain, we just found a miracle." Elder This's voice broke through, filled with awe. "The song was true. The stars have given us a home." The Zapirian ships emerged behind them, one by one, glowing faintly as they entered the hidden system. For the first time, Morrison saw no fear in their light, only wonder. But the moment of peace didn't last. "Captain," Chen said sharply, "we're not alone." On the screen, faint signals appeared. Vessels already in the system. Their designs were strange, metallic, insect-like, bristling with weapons, not council ships, something else. "How many?" Morrison asked. Chen's face paled. "Dozens, maybe more, and they've already noticed us." As if in answer, the alien ships shifted formation, moving toward the newcomers like wolves scenting prey. Morrison's heart sank. They had found a sanctuary, but it wasn't empty. It was occupied. The bridge of the horizon was silent as the alien ships moved into formation. Their hulls were jagged, dark metal layered like overlapping plates of armor. Spikes protruded at unnatural angles, and faint green light pulsed from cracks in their frames. They looked like insects carved from steel, bristling with menace. "Multiple vessels closing in," Chen reported, her voice low and tight. 30 at least, maybe more hidden behind the planet's shadow. Morrison studied the tactical display. The alien ships moved with a terrible precision, no hesitation, no wasted motion. Predators. "Can we open communication?" he asked. "I'll try," Chen said, already patching through frequencies. Static filled the speakers, followed by a deep, vibrating tone. It wasn't speech, more like the buzzing of an enormous swarm. "Translators struggling," Chen muttered. "The patterns, they don't match any known language family." Dr. Phillips leaned over her console, adjusting settings. "It's structured, though. This isn't noise. It's communication. We just don't understand it yet." Brooks' eyes narrowed at the screen. "They don't look interested in talking." As if to prove her point, the alien fleet began spreading out, encircling the human and Zapirian ships like a tightening noose. Elder This's voice broke through comms, filled with unease. "Human captain, my symbionts are restless. They whisper of danger. These beings, they are not of the council. They are older, hungrier." Morrison felt his stomach knot. "Do you know who they are?" "No," This's admitted. "But my people have stories of shadows in hidden places. Perhaps these are they." "Great," Brooks muttered. "We found monsters in the closet." "Captain," Chen's voice rose. "Energy spikes, those ships are powering weapons." "Shields up," Morrison ordered immediately. "Zapirian fleet, tight formation around us. Prepare for evasive maneuvers." The bridge flared red as the first barrage came. Beams of sickly green energy lanced from the alien ships, hammering the horizon's shields. The ship rocked violently, consoles sparking. "Shields holding barely," Brooks shouted. Zapirian ships returned fire, their crystal beams cutting through the void in dazzling arcs. One alien vessel shattered under the barrage, its metallic hull splintering apart. But the others pressed closer, relentless. "We can't hold against this many," Chen cried. Morrison's mind raced. He had 12,000 refugees at his back. Running wasn't an option. Fighting wasn't one either, not against numbers like this. He needed another way. "Chen, keep trying to translate their signals," he barked. "Maybe they're territorial, maybe they think we're invaders." Phillips leaned forward, frowning at the data streaming across his console. "Captain, I don't think they're attacking because of territory." "Then why?" Morrison snapped. Phillips looked grim. "Their energy signatures, they're not just weapons, they're harvesting, absorbing energy from the Zapirian crystal blasts. It's like they're feeding." The bridge froze. "Feeding," Brooks repeated. Phillips nodded. "They're not fighting us, they're draining us, feeding on crystal energy, which means," he turned to Morrison, his face pale, "they came for the Zapirians." The revelation hit like a thunderclap. The council had exiled the Zapirians for being impure, for carrying symbionts. But maybe there was another reason. Maybe someone, or something, wanted them removed from safe space. Captain, Elder this S's voice came through, trembling. My younglings are screaming. The symbionts inside us, they feel hunger. A hunger not our own. These beings seek us. Morrison gritted his teeth. Not while I breathe. He turned to Chen. Options. Only one, she said. Fight or die. Not good enough, Morrison muttered. Think. The ship shook again as another volley struck the shields. Warning klaxons blared. Then Brooks slammed her fist against her console. Captain, if they're feeding on Zapirian energy, maybe we can use that against them. Morrison's eyes snapped to hers. Explain. Brooks pointed at the tactical display. Their ships cluster tight after every crystal blast, like sharks around blood. What if we give them something bigger to bite, something unstable? Phillips caught on. A feedback surge. If we overload a Zapirian crystal core, we could trigger an energy cascade, detonate it, draw them in, then blow them apart. Morrison's gut twisted. That means sacrificing a Zapirian ship. Silence fell. Then Elder this S spoke. Her voice carried sorrow, but also resolve. If one ship must fall to save the rest, we will do it. Choose us. Morrison's throat tightened. No, not you. He looked at the fleet. One Zapirian vessel lagged behind, its hull cracked, its lights flickering weakly. It was already dying. He opened a channel. Zapirian vessel Ithiel, this is Captain Morrison. Your ship's failing, but you can still save thousands. Will you help us? For a long moment there was silence, then a faint voice, fragile but steady. We are ready. Tell us what to do. Brooks gave instructions quickly, her voice low and hard. Route all remaining power into your core. Modulate the crystal harmonics at maximum resonance. Hold until the enemy closes, then release everything at once. The Zapirian crew acknowledged. Their crystal hull began glowing brighter, until it was almost blinding. On the tactical display, the alien ships swarmed toward it, drawn like moths to flame. They're taking the bait, Chen whispered. Morrison clenched the armrests of his chair. Hold steady, Ithiel, just a little longer. The alien swarm converged, wrapping the lone Zapirian vessel in a cage of metal teeth. Their green beams lashed against its hull, feeding greedily. Now, Brooks shouted. The Ithiel erupted. Light tore across the void, a cascade of crystal energy exploding outward in a storm of brilliance. Alien ships shattered instantly, their hulls torn apart by the uncontrolled surge. Others were ripped into spirals of molten debris. The swarm broke, scattered, their formation shattered. Cheers filled the bridge. It worked, Chen cried. Half their fleet destroyed. But Morrison didn't cheer. His eyes stayed fixed on the place where the Ithiel had been. The Zapirian ship was gone, sacrificed, and with it dozens of lives. Elder this S's voice came through, heavy with grief. They sang their last song for us. We will remember them. Morrison swallowed hard. We'll make sure the galaxy remembers, too. The surviving alien ships regrouped, but their movements were less precise now, less confident. The swarm was wounded. But before Morrison could order the next move, Chen's console flared. Captain, new contacts. Morrison's heart sank. Council. No, Chen whispered. Worse. On the screen, more ships appeared, dozens, maybe hundreds, emerging from behind the gas giant in the system's heart. Vast, hulking vessels, larger than anything Morrison had ever seen. Their shapes were jagged like the others, but older, scarred, bristling with weapons. Phillips went pale. If the smaller ones were hunters, these are the hive. The bridge went silent. Brooks whispered, we just kicked the nest. The alien fleet began to move. The bridge of the horizon went silent as the new fleet appeared. Dozens, no, hundreds of colossal ships emerged from the shadows of the gas giant. Their hulls were ancient, jagged, scarred from battles untold. Massive spines jutted outward like skeletal remains, and between them, pulsating green cores throbbed with sickly light. If the first swarm had been wolves, these were leviathans, predators older than empires. Oh my God, Chen whispered, her voice trembling. Size estimates, Captain, those things are 5 times larger than our ship, maybe more. They're hive vessels, Dr. Phillips said grimly. Carriers, factories, maybe even living entities in their own right. The smaller ships were just scouts. This is the main swarm. Elder this S's voice came through the comms, weighted with dread. The hunger has grown louder. My symbionts tremble. They say these creatures were made to consume us. Morrison's jaw tightened. The Zapirians weren't just refugees, they were prey. The Council hadn't exiled them to protect the galaxy. They had exiled them to feed the swarm. Brooks turned sharply. "Captain, we can't fight that. Not even with every human fleet combined. We need to run." "Run where?" Morrison shot back. "We're trapped in this pocket system. The rift's unstable. If we try to go back, the Council's waiting." The bridge filled with silence again. No options. Then Hayes, the young navigator, spoke up, his voice shaking but determined. "Sir, maybe we don't have to outrun them. Maybe we can hide." All eyes turned to him. Hayes swallowed hard. "The asteroid belt, dense, unstable, but if we disperse the fleet, maybe the swarm won't find us all at once." Brooks frowned. "And if they do, we'll be scattered, picked off piece by piece." "It's better than dying in the open," Hayes said quietly. Morrison studied the tactical display. The Hive ships were moving now, slow but unstoppable, spreading like a tide. Their smaller scouts darted ahead, circling like vultures. He looked at Hayes, young, scared, but thinking. That was humanity's gift, the refusal to freeze. "Plot a course," Morrison said. The Horizon and the Zapirian fleet turned sharply, engines blazing toward the glittering asteroid belt. Behind them, the Hive fleet stirred, and the hunt began. The asteroid belt was chaos. Thousands of massive rocks drifted in tangled orbits, colliding and grinding together. Shards of ice and stone streaked like knives across the void. "Careful navigation," Brooks warned. "One wrong move and we'll be smashed to pieces." "Better smashed by rocks than eaten alive," Morrison said. The Horizon slipped into the belt, weaving through tumbling boulders. The Zapirian ships followed, their crystal hulls glowing faintly, like wounded lanterns in the dark. Behind them, the swarm poured in. Green beams slashed through the belt, obliterating asteroids into clouds of dust. The hunters were relentless, slicing through rock, searching for prey. "Shields at 60%, Chen shouted. "Keep moving," Morrison barked. Zapirian ships split off into smaller groups, vanishing into the belt's shadows. The Hive pursued, breaking apart into hunting packs. For every asteroid shattered, 3 more loomed in the way. It was chaos, perfect chaos. "Captain," Phillips said suddenly, "I'm detecting something strange, deeper in the belt. Energy readings unlike anything I've ever seen." Morrison frowned. "What kind of readings?" Phillips hesitated. "Resonant, like the Zapirian crystals, but stronger, older." Elder This S broke in over comms, her voice sharp. "The ancestors, their voices call from the stone." Morrison blinked. "Ancestors. Our people once believed the stars seeded life with crystal song," This S said quickly. "If something lies hidden here, it may be part of that truth. Captain, if we find it, perhaps it can help us." Brooks glared. "Or it kills us faster." Morrison didn't hesitate. "Set course, take us to the readings." They pushed deeper into the asteroid field, pursued by the swarm. Alien ships sliced through the rocks, relentless. The Horizon dodged debris, shields sparking, engines screaming under strain. Then through the chaos, a shape emerged. It wasn't an asteroid, it was a structure. A massive crystalline formation floated in the heart of the belt, half buried in stone and ice. It glowed faintly with inner light, pulsing like a heartbeat. Vast spires reached outward, etched with patterns too precise to be natural. It's artificial," Phillips breathed. "No, more than that, it's alive." Elder This S gasped, her voice trembling. "The cradle, the first song." Chen's eyes widened at the readings. "Captain, the energy levels are staggering. That thing could power a fleet for centuries, maybe more." The Zapirian symbionts seemed to react at once. Voices spilled through the comms, Zapirian children crying, adults gasping. Their bodies glowed brighter, colors shifting wildly. "They're resonating with it," Phillips realized. "The cradle is connected to their biology, to their very existence." Morrison's chest tightened. A miracle, the kind of miracle the Zapirians had been denied for generations. But before hope could take hold, the swarm arrived. Dozens of alien hunters burst through the asteroid belt, beams slashing. The Hive ships loomed beyond, massive and unstoppable. "They've found us," Brooks shouted. On the screen, the swarm converged on the crystalline structure, their beams striking its surface. The cradle shuddered but held, its light growing brighter as if resisting. "They're trying to consume it," Phillips said. just like they tried to consume the Zapirians. Morrison stood, "Not while I'm here." He opened a channel to the fleet. "All ships, listen to me. That structure is the key. It's tied to the Zapirians. Maybe it's what the swarm has been hunting all along. If we lose it, we lose everything. We hold the line here, we protect the cradle." The bridge went silent. The crew knew what he was asking, to stand against impossible odds, to fight and die if needed. Then Elder the Sess's voice came through, strong and steady. "We will fight beside you, human captain. For the first time in generations, we feel hope. We will not lose it now." Zapirian ships surged forward, their crystal beams blazing brighter than ever, amplified by the cradle's resonance. They cut into the swarm with dazzling arcs, shattering alien hunters one by one. The horizon fired everything it had, cannons blazing, missiles streaking through the void. Asteroids exploded, scattering shrapnel into the swarm. The battle turned into chaos. Alien hunters screamed through the belt, tearing into Zapirian ships. Crystal hulls shattered. Green beams sliced across the horizon's shields, draining them to 30%. "Captain," Chen cried, "we can't hold much longer." Then the cradle pulsed. A wave of radiant energy burst outward, flooding the battlefield. The Zapirian ships glowed brighter, their weapons amplified. Alien hunters reeled, their beams sputtering. "It's protecting them," Phillips shouted. "The cradle is fighting with us." Cheers erupted on the bridge. But hope was short-lived. The Hive fleet moved closer, their colossal vessels aligning in formation. Their cores glowed brighter, building energy. "They're charging something," Chen whispered. On the screen, the Hive's central vessel pulsed once. Then a massive beam of green energy erupted, striking the cradle directly. The structure shuddered violently, cracks spiderwebbing across its glowing surface. "Damage severe," Phillips cried. "If they keep this up, it'll collapse." Morrison's fists clenched. They couldn't lose the cradle, not now. Brooks turned sharply. "Captain, there's one way. If we overload the Horizon's engines and channel everything into the cradle, maybe it can push back. Maybe it can destroy the Hive fleet." Morrison's heart sank. "That would burn us out, kill the ship." Brooks met his eyes. "Better us than 12,000 refugees." The bridge fell silent. Morrison looked at his crew, Chen, pale but resolute. Hayes, young and terrified but ready. Phillips, clutching data he might never live to share. Brooks, steady as always. And he looked at the cradle, glowing desperately against the Hive's assault. He knew what had to be done. "Prepare the overload," he said quietly. But before his crew could move, a new voice filled the comms. It wasn't human, it wasn't Zapirian. It was the cradle itself. Human Zapirian, together defend. The bridge froze. The cradle was speaking. The bridge of the horizon was frozen in silence. The voice, low, resonant, layered like many voices speaking as one, still echoed through the comms. Human Zapirian, together defend. Chen's fingers trembled on her console. "Captain, that wasn't interference, it was deliberate. The cradle is transmitting." Dr. Phillips leaned forward, eyes wide. "It's conscious, or at least semi-conscious. We're not just looking at ancient technology, we're speaking to a mind." Elder the Sess's voice joined the channel, thick with awe. "The first song, our ancestors spoke of it, a voice older than our people, older than the council itself. We thought it was legend, but it lives." Morrison steadied his breath. "Cradle, if you can hear me, we need help. The swarm is trying to destroy you and us with you." The cradle's light pulsed, glowing brighter. The voice came again, fractured but clear. "Swarm, hunger, destroy, balance broken, need bond." Phillips frowned, scanning data. "Captain, I think it's saying it can fight back, but only with our help, some kind of bond, a link." Brooks scowled. "What does that even mean?" Elder the Sess answered, her voice hushed. "The symbionts, they are part of this. The cradle is their source, the song that first birthed them. If humans and Zapirians connect, perhaps the cradle can amplify us." Morrison's stomach nodded. "Connect how?" Before the Sess could answer, Chen's console beeped violently. "Captain, incoming swarm ships, dozens breaking through the belt." On the screen, hunters swarmed toward them, beams flaring. The Hive's massive vessels loomed closer, preparing another devastating blast. Morrison's options were gone. He opened the comms. Elder this says if this bond is our only shot, let's do it. There was no hesitation in her reply. We are ready. The cradle pulsed again, flooding the system with radiant light. It washed across the Zapirian fleet, across the horizon, penetrating every hull, every wall. Morrison felt it in his chest, a vibration deep in his bones, like his heartbeat wasn't his own anymore. Then the voices came. Not human, not alien, something deeper. A chorus of whispers threading into his mind. They were frightened, curious, but also welcoming. Captain, Chen whispered, clutching her head. I hear them. Morrison staggered, gripping the console. For a moment, panic clawed at him. He wasn't alone in his own mind. He felt the presence of the Zapirians, their fear, their hope, their grief. He saw flashes of their lives, children glowing with color, families exiled into darkness, ships burning as they fled. And in return, he felt his own memories brush against them. Earth's wars, Earth's triumphs, humanity's stubborn refusal to give up. The bond was real. The cradle's voice thundered in all their minds. Together, strength, unite song, strike. On the screen, the Zapirian ships flared brighter than ever before. Their crystal hulls burned with light, harmonizing with the cradle's pulse. Their weapons fired in unison, beams amplified 100-fold. Alien hunters screamed apart, torn into molten shards. Even the colossal hive vessels faltered as the barrage hammered their shields. Chen gasped. Their weapons, Captain, they're 10 times stronger, the cradles channeling our bond into raw power. Cheers erupted. For the first time, the swarm wasn't just feeding, it was retreating. But Morrison felt something else through the bond. A shadow, a hunger that stretched across the void. The cradle's voice trembled. Swarm endless, not stop, origin beyond. Philip stiffened. Origin, Captain, it's saying this isn't the whole swarm, there's more, much more. Morrison's blood ran cold. This was only a fraction. The hive's central vessel stirred. Its massive core pulsed violently, and Morrison felt its hunger claw into his mind. For an instant, he saw through its gaze, saw humans and Zapirians not as people, but as fuel. He tore himself back with a gasp. They're coming harder. What else can the cradle do? The voice came again. Need choice, bond deeper, risk self-lost. Phillips's face paled. Captain, I think it's offering to merge fully with us, to unify our minds with the Zapirians and the cradle itself. It could unleash power enough to destroy the hive. But we might not come back, Brooks finished grimly. Morrison felt the weight of it settle on his chest. He looked at his crew. Chen's eyes wide with fear but burning with resolve. Hayes, young and trembling but nodding slowly. Brooks, jaw tight, waiting for his call. And he looked at the Zapirian ships, glowing brightly in defiance. Families, children, refugees who had already given everything. Elder the Sess's voice came softly. Human Captain, we trust you. Whatever choice you make, we stand with you. The swarm advanced, their beams already building for another volley. The cradle's cracks deepened, light spilling like blood. Morrison closed his eyes. He had chosen once before to defy the council to save the Zapirians. That choice had brought them here, and now another choice waited. Risk everything, or watch the refugees die. He opened his eyes, steady as steel. Cradle, he said, do it, bond us all. The cradle's light exploded. It was like drowning. Morrison's mind was ripped from his body, flung into a storm of thought and memory. He was everywhere at once, on Earth as a child, on battlefields soaked in blood, on the bridge of the horizon. At the same time, he was among the Zapirians, seeing through their crystal-lit eyes, feeling their symbionts pulse with song. And he was the cradle. He felt its age, millions of years, older than empires, older than stars. He felt its purpose, to weave life together to balance hunger and harmony. The swarm had once been part of that balance, but something had broken them, turned them from guardians into predators. Morrison's mind blurred with Chen, with Brooks's, with Hayes. He felt their memories, their fears, their hopes bleeding into his own. Humanity's stubborn spark interlaced with the Zapirians' song. Together they roared. The cradle unleashed its power. Waves of radiant energy burst across the battlefield. Zapirian ships sang with blinding light, their beams slicing through hunters like scythes through grass. The horizon's weapons, weak before, now struck like thunder, tearing into hive armor. The swarm recoiled, their formation shattering. Hunters fled. Even the colossal hive vessels faltered, their cores flickering under the assault. For the first time, the impossible felt possible. But then the cradle shuddered. "Captain," Phillips cried, though his voice was more thought than sound. "The bond, it's burning too hot, the cradle's overloading." Through the link, Morrison felt it, like a body tearing itself apart. The cradle's energy surged wildly, cracks splitting its crystalline surface. Brooks's thought voice cut through. "If it collapses, we all die." The cradle's voice echoed in their minds. "Choice, end here or flee, decide." Morrison saw it, two futures at once. If they unleashed everything, the hive fleet would be annihilated. But the cradle would shatter, its gift lost forever, and maybe their minds with it. If they retreated now, they might save the cradle, but the swarm would survive, regroup, and hunt them again. No option without sacrifice. Morrison felt thousands of voices pressing into his mind. Human and Zapirian, trusting him, waiting. His choice would decide not just this battle, but their future. And as the swarm's hive core flared with deadly power, preparing its final strike, Morrison knew he had only seconds to choose. For a heartbeat, the universe held its breath. Captain Jake Morrison stood at the center of the Horizon's bridge, the bond with the cradle burning behind his eyes like white fire. He felt his crew in him. He felt the Zapirians in him. He felt the cradle, old as time and cracked like ice at spring, waiting for his choice. Two paths had appeared. Burn everything now and win at once, or flee and lose the chance to save the first song. He chose a third way. "Cradle," Morrison said, voice steady. "Not a flood, a rhythm." The cradle's light trembled. "Explain." "Don't pour power until you break," he said. "Pulse it, short bursts, on-off, make the swarm choke on the feed they want. We time it tight. We turn their hunger against them." Dr. Phillips gasped. Like forcing a machine to draw current out of phase, they take an energy at the wrong time and trip their cores. "Exactly," Morrison said. "But simple, no math on the bridge, we use a beat." Elder this S spoke, soft and sure. "The symbionts can carry a beat." Morrison nodded. "Then we make a drum." He pointed. "Hayes, dump our spare navigation buoys and torpedo casings into the belt. I want a ring around the cradle 50 kilometers out." Chen, slave the beacons to the cradle's pulse. 3 quick notes, 1 rest. 3 heartbeats, 1 breath. "Brooks, move our ships. Bring the Zapirians into that ring and hold a tight lattice. We fire only on the beat." Brooks's eyes flashed. "A kill box that sings." "It doesn't have to be pretty," Morrison said. "It just has to work." "Aye, Captain." The bridge snapped into motion. The Horizon rolled through the glittering stone and ice. Hayes launched hollow torpedoes that became blinking buoys. Chen tied them to the cradle's pulse and set them to flare bright white on the beat. All across the pocket system, Zapirian captains called and answered in quiet, shaking voices. The symbionts whispered to them. They whispered back. The hive came on. Hunters swarmed first, stabbing green beams through the asteroids. Then the giants moved, slow as mountains, their sick cores throbbing. The central Leviathan gathered light in its belly for another world-killing shot. "Ready," Chen said, breath fogging the inside of her visor. "Beacon synced, first beat in 3, 2, 1. The cradle pulsed. Light rippled out in a ring. Zapirian ships flared and fired as one. Not a steady beam, 3 short cuts, 1 breath of silence. The hunters rushed in, mouths open to drink, and then choked, their feeding cycles snapping against the empty rest. Half a dozen burst into shards. A dozen more spun dead, lights out. Again, Brooks barked. "Pulse, pulse, pulse, rest." The ring flashed. The Horizon's cannons fired on the beats, each shot hit like a hammer. The cradle's cracks sang with pain but held the rhythm. Alien hunters died in sync to the song. "Captain," Phillips said, voice tight with awe. "It's working. They're built to feed on flow, not stutter. We're forcing them to swallow and starve at the same time." The giants noticed. The central hive vessel tried to shift its rhythm, tried to time its hunger to the pulses. Chen saw it on her screen and adjusted the beacons half a heartbeat faster, then half again. The cradle followed her hands like she had always been its conductor. The hive fired. A river of green slammed toward the cradle. "On me," Morrison shouted. "All ships interpose, shields forward, engines full." The Horizon dove. Zapirian ships flared and formed a shining wall, crystalline shields stacked together like scales. The beam hit. It burned. It screamed. It pushed the wall back meter by meter. "Shields at 19%, Brooks yelled through gritted teeth. "Hold," Morrison said. The cradle pulsed again. This time the ring answered with a roar, 3 beats like thunder, 1 breath like a knife. The hive's beam faltered. The central core stuttered, then surged, then stuttered again. It wasn't drinking. It was drowning. "Now," Elder the Cess whispered into every mind. "Now." Every Zapirian ship poured one last cut of light into the ring. The horizon added its own bright line, small but true. The central Leviathan's core went white. It did not explode, it inverted. Green turned to black. The beam folded into the thing that made it. The giant's spikes dimmed. One by one, the little hunters around it blinked out, lost the taste for power, and fell silent. The rest of the hive pulled away fast, towing their dead, their cold, their dark. "They're retreating," Chen said, barely loud enough to hear. She put both hands over her mouth. "They're finally retreating." A long, shaking breath ran through the ship. A cheer rose, ragged at first, then strong. Brooks didn't smile. She watched the screen, jaw tight. "They'll be back, different rhythm, new trick." "I know," Morrison said. He looked at the cradle. The great structure hung in space, glowing, but the cracks across it were wide now. Light leaked like blood. "Cradle," he said softly, "can you hold?" The voice answered in every mind. "Hurt, survive, need mend." Elder the Cess's skin turned a slow, deep gold. "We can do it." Morrison nodded once, "Then we mend." They worked in the quiet after the storm. Zapirian engineers moved in suits like moving light. Human engineers followed in heavy frames with welding torches and patch plates and rule-of-thumb ideas that had saved more ships than clean math ever would. Phillips ran old repair drones out of the Horizon's belly and taught them new tricks on the fly. Hayes flew a forklift through a hail of glitter and didn't hit a single star. The cradle told them what to touch. The symbionts told them what to sing. Humans made it real. They braced cracked spines with carbon and ship bone, pried out shattered crystal, pressed living shards into gaps with careful, shaking hands. The cradle swallowed each gift and grew it until the seam vanished. Children watched through viewports, human and Zapirian faces side by side, fogging glass. They held a small service before the last plates went on. No speeches, no flag-draped metal. Elder the Cess sang the Ithiel's name once, simple and slow. The Zapirians laid a bowl of tiny, glowing stones in a pocket the cradle opened for them. Morrison raised his hand in a plain salute and let it fall. "Ready," Chen said at last, eyes red but proud. "Final patch in place." The cradle's light steadied. Its voice came back softer now, but clear. "Thanks, Live." "Live," Morrison said. He turned to Brooks. "How bad?" "We've got scars," she said. "But we're breathing. The Zapirian fleet is down to 12 ships that can still fight. The rest can still fly. The ring beacons are stable. The behemoth out there is dark as a tomb." "And the rift?" he asked. Phillips looked at the screen. The tear that had brought them here still hung beyond the belt like a wound in black cloth. "It's open," he said, "but the Council might find it if we leave it as it is." Morrison felt the cradle's attention shift toward that wound. "Cradle," he said, "can you close the door?" The reply came with a hint of old sadness. "Yes, or make it a lock." "A lock," Morrison said, "keyed to us to this bond." "Possible," the cradle said, "but you must choose who belongs." Morrison looked around the bridge. He saw Chen, steady now. He saw Hayes, tired but trying to look brave. He saw Brooks, always the spine in the storm. He looked past them to the Zapirian faces on the small screens, captains and elders and younglings who had lived through exile and found light again. He opened a wide channel. "This is Captain Jake Morrison," he said. "To the Zapirian fleet, to the cradle, to my crew, we are going to lock this place. We will open the door for friends. We will close it to hunters." Elder the Cess nodded, and even through a camera he could see her symbionts glow with warm light. "We will share the key," she said. "We will guard it together." Brooks cleared her throat, and the Council. As if summoned, a small object drifted from the rift, a glittering sphere, half mirror, half knife. It turned once and lit the bridge with gold. "Probe," Chen said, voice sharp. "Council build." The sphere opened like a flower. Commander Zethak's face appeared above it, a cold ghost cast onto the bridge. "Human," he said, "you are alive, annoying." Morrison did not bother to hide his anger. "You drove families into a slaughterhouse and called it law." Zethak's eyes were flat. We contain contagion, you set it free. Brooks took one step toward the image, fists tight. Those contagions just saved their own lives, and ours, and they broke your hunters. The hive is not ours, Zethak said, but it is useful. Morrison felt the deck go still under his boots. He felt an old kind of rage, quiet, hard, the kind that made choices stick. You knew, he said, you knew what hunted them. Zethak did not blink. We chose order over pity. You have chosen the opposite. Your people will suffer for it. Turn over the outcasts, or we will seal you in this pocket and erase your path back to your son. No, Morrison said. The word was not loud, but it was the only thing in the room. He turned his head, just enough to take in his crew, and the Zapirian faces on the tiny screens. Cradle, he said, lock the door. Give access to any ship that comes with open shields and open hands. Deny every ship that comes with hunger. Set, the cradle said, the rift flexed. Lines of light ran through it like veins closing. A clear path remained, a narrow throat of safety that led toward human space. Everything else went dark and hard as stone. Zethak's image flickered as the probe lost its link. You think you can hide here, he said. You think you can keep them safe. Morrison met his eyes. We already did. The probe dimmed to ash. It drifted. Hayes nudged it with a thruster puff and sent it out into the belt where a slow rock caught it and made it small. Silence returned, the kind that holds things, not the kind that empties them. Captain Chen said softly, Path home is open, it's narrow, but it's ours. Morrison exhaled. The tightness in his chest eased for the first time since the first red light had flashed on his bridge days ago, or was it years? He opened a final, broad channel. Zapirian fleet. We are going to build. We will bring food and medicine and teachers and parts. We will bring friends. We will bring laws that protect those who need protection. We will build a wall when we must and a table when we can. Elder Thess's voice warmed the air. We accept. We will build with you. Morrison nodded to Brooks. Make a list. She almost smiled. Of what? Everything, he said. Water drills, shield towers, school walls, a place to mourn, a place to sing, send it to Earth, mark it urgent. Do you think they'll approve? She asked. No, Morrison said. Then he did smile, small and sharp. They'll do it anyway. He took his seat. It felt like home for the first time since he'd left Earth's gravity behind. He looked at the screen. The cradle glowed, whole enough to live. The ring of beacons winked like a necklace around a beloved throat. Beyond the belt, dark hulks drifted where leviathans had failed to eat. Chen, he said, plot the first supply run. Hayes, mark every rock that wants to kill us and teach it some manners. Phillips, write down everything the cradle taught you. Twice, in small words, we'll need it all when we're tired. And me, Brooks said. Morrison looked at her. You, take your pick, admiral, governor, sheriff, choir director, we need them all. She huffed, I'll start with shield captain. Good, he said. We'll need one by morning. The cradle's voice brushed all of them lighter now. Together, balance returns, new song begins. New song, Morrison repeated. He stood again, he couldn't help it. He needed to say one more thing with his feet on his deck. To everyone listening, he said, and he knew the cradle would carry it farther than radio ever could. This place has a name, it's not a secret and it's not a threat, it's a promise. We call it sanctuary. If you come in peace, we'll open the door. If you come to hunt, the door will not be there. Elder Thess's skin went the color of a sunrise. In our tongue, she said, we call it the place where the song stood. Then we'll paint both names on the same wall, Morrison said, and we'll argue about typefaces later. Laughter answered him. Human laughter, Zapirian laughter, and the quiet, low hum of something old and kind learning to laugh again. They set the horizon on a slow, careful course toward the narrow ribbon the cradle had left through the rift. Behind them, half the Zapirian ships turned to keep watch with Brooks' new-built shields blooming like clear flowers between rock and light. The other half formed up with the horizon to go and come, to begin the long work that would never end, work that made wars worth fighting. As the ship slid forward, Morrison let the bond at last loosen in his mind. The chorus sank to a murmur. He felt his own heartbeat again. It was still in time with the cradle and with Elder Thess and with his crew. Captain, Chen said, voice bright and tired, we'll hit the throat in 60 seconds. Copy, Morrison said. He looked once more at the place they had claimed. He didn't pray often, not out loud. but he thought a simple thing in simple words. Hold, grow, be kind. He felt Elder This's answer across the quiet. We will. They slipped into the throat. The rift folded around them. For a moment there was only light and the sound of a faraway drum, 3 beats and a breath. When the stars opened again, the familiar scatter of human space lay ahead, cold, bright, beautiful as ever. Morrison turned his chair a little toward the forward screen, and toward the crew he trusted with his life. Let's go home, he said, and come right back. They flew. Far behind in the sanctuary system, the cradle listened to the slow drift of old hulls and newborn shields. In a shadow beyond the gas giant, something vast rolled once and slept again, unable to find a rhythm it could drink without drowning. Far away, in a high, bright chamber where laws were carved in pride, Commander Zethak stood in a circle of light and watched a door he could no longer open. He did not turn when a quiet figure stepped out of the deeper dark, and he said nothing as a colder plan took shape. Closer than either of those, a child, human, pressed her palm to a viewport on the horizon and tried to match her breath to the little blinking beacons floating around a world she had not seen but already loved. 3 beats, 1 breath. A song you could defend. A place you could build. At the edge of the galaxy, the first sanctuary held, and the new song did not end. It only waited for the next verse.